Hi guys, welcome to Codivated. Thank you guys for joining us, and it's always a pleasure to have you guys on board. Today we have someone joining us. I think this is the first time we are not the first time, but we've had guys on our videos. So this is another person that we have invited over to join us on the videos. It's a pleasure, Kelvin, having you on board.
Absolutely, man. The pleasure is all mine.
Yeah, nice. So today we just want to have a conversation, and you, the audience, will be the fly in the room. Hope you don't mind being the fly.
I hope you're entertained.
Yeah, hope they entertain and also they get to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Kelvin, I actually grew up with Kelvin in the same hood.
Yeah, we grew up in Jamhuri.
Jamhuri.
Back in the days.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at some point you went abroad.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe this conversation will just be about going abroad and then your experiences, mostly in business.
Yes.
The challenges, the lessons, how you were able to hack it as a
traveler.
As a traveler. Yeah. So maybe we can start from what did you study and how you ended up abroad.
Yeah, sure, man. So first of all, thank you for this absolutely opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, I've been wanting to be on your pod for a while, and yeah. So my name is Kelvin, as you said, and in 2008 I went to China. So I went there on a tourist visa, and then I was 6 months. I studied the language, and then after that was finished, I started software engineering in Nanjing University, and I did that for some time, and it was a whole experience. You know, China is a whole thing. Yeah.
Shout out to Nanjing University.
Nanjing University, shout out, man. To all my boys, man. You know? Yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how I got into China, and and then so I went there for studies, and while I was studying, I was also trying to do like part-time things. You know, like trying to pay your own school fees. And so I was teaching English for a while, and then I started doing like some kind of IT work, you know. So I was fixing computers for foreigners that live in China, because that was something that like most Chinese technicians could not understand English properly.
Yeah.
So I had a unique service that I was providing, going into people's houses, like formatting their computers, you know, like setting up their Wi-Fi's, and you know, and it was a good paying opportunity as well. You know,
that is IT support, right?
Yeah, IT support. You know, and then basically.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
man.
that's how I started. Yes.
Okay. So you said which course were you doing?
Software engineering and business management.
Ah, cool. How was it? Have you ever been trained in the Kenyan University by any chance?
Actually, I wanted to go to uni here personally.
Yeah.
And even I just go to China, and the reason I chose software engineering, initially I was going to go study aeronautical engineering, and then I switched to software because I got to China and I realized there's just so much opportunity to practice with computer. There's so much equipment, and so and IT was something already that I had studied in high school. I did
computer
IT
studies.
Yes, I did computer studies.
Okay.
In Dagoretti High School. Shout out to Dago.
Dago.
I know you went to Nairobi school.
Yeah. Patch.
So we're like
Dago is ditches, eh?
Ditches, yeah, ditches and Patch, yeah. We're like eternal rivals. No?
Yeah, rugby, mostly drama.
Drama and rugby, bro.
Yeah. Music fest.
And music
remember?
festival, yeah. So, man, we're representing right now, man.
Cool, man. Yeah. And by the way, we were dancers. We breakdancing. You remember breakdancing in high school?
I still breakdance. I don't know if you know. I think too many beers does that, you know. I still try to do my ways and
popping.
And yeah, a little bit of that, man. I still dance, man. I love dancing. I think it's
So, what going to China? How did it change your perspective in terms of compared to before? Like, was there any kind of change? Was there any kind of I know probably there was culture shock, but in what way were you like transformed in terms, or how did you have to adjust in terms of how you socialize?
That's a very interesting question, because this is something I always told my mom. I always tell her, like, when I went to China, that world moves really fast. Chinese people do things really fast. So it was a bit hard. I was like, man, I'm African, you know? And because in Africa, we just like to take it like, things as they go,
Yeah.
And so I was in an environment where things were just happening like this, and every Chinese person is like juggling like 5 things, 10 things at a time. So I had to really be agile, and try to really be more active and you can't just sit because no one is sitting. So that is something that I learned in my time in China, and I think that would help me, I think, just be a better person, like and also just accomplish some of the things that I've wanted to do in life, traveling. So yes, it's China is a really, I recommend, like, if you want to experience something very different from our lovely Kenyan culture, go to China.
But they just stuck. Probably there'll be an issue with the mic.
Here?
Yeah, there's this. Just probably just tuck it a bit.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So maybe you mentioned things being fast. Maybe could you like elaborate what that entails?
So, for example, like an average, let's say, 20-year-old Chinese person.
Yeah.
If you look at, they already have a CV, right? Like someone who's finished like high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, like.
That is 1 year after high school, or 1 or 2 years after high school in Kenya. Yeah.
I remember because I was comparing my friends, my age mates, right, who were Chinese, and I look at, they already have CVs already, Some guy's been working like 3 months doing sales, like,
Damn.
like 3 months doing marketing here, like they've been doing translation, like they already have so much experience, and I was like, wow, it's really hard to compete with someone like this because they've been around so much. Well, when I've only been focusing and just moving very, very slowly,
Yeah.
So, and it also makes you think that, oh man, like, like, because sometimes people like us who, you go to China and you're saying like, oh, I'm going to do IT.
Yeah.
And you only want to find jobs doing IT, And so seeing that in Chinese people made me like really open myself up. So, I kept teaching English, I was also a DJ sometimes, like trying to create events and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was always trying to be like, move as fast as they move, And I think that really helped me so much because I speak Mandarin. I speak Mandarin really well. Like
you had to learn when you were there or before you traveled?
I had to learn when I was there.
Okay.
I remember when I arrived in China, I couldn't speak a word of Chinese. I didn't even think I could speak Chinese.
Yeah.
And you arrive there and you find all these people that have been taking courses for years. And they speak very good Chinese, and I was like, oh man, I was so demoralized.
Yeah.
But I think just moving about every single day, and always, at evenings, I was out as well.
Okay.
I was always out like socializing, and during the day in school, of course. But I think just that and teaching English, it helped me like, pick up the language, which is invaluable because it could be very expensive to learn a language like Chinese.
Yeah. So were you like going to class for Mandarin, or you just picked it?
So in the first 6 months, I was learning Mandarin, and when you learn Mandarin, like when it's just like dedicated Mandarin classes, you learn 4 things. You learn speaking, you learn listening, reading, and writing.
Wow. Okay.
Like your classes are like divided like that.
Yeah.
So those first 6 months gave me a foundation, because when you have to go to class,
Yes.
then you have to learn how to write, and the teacher teaches you the basics,
Yeah.
like ba 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 ba. So you learn everything, and they give you that discipline. So after 6 months, when I came out of class, like I could walk on my feet now.
Yeah.
And I could discover like the things that I wanted to learn. And also with Chinese, it's all about like the vocabulary. So for example, I know a lot of IT vocabulary.
Yeah.
But I don't know a lot of like engineering vocabulary or say medical terms,
Oh, so in the language, you're talking about in the language.
In the language,
okay, that's interesting. Yes.
So it's something that after I got the 6 months foundation and I came out, now I knew like what I wanted to do, So when I started doing the business and even fixing computers, like I could look at computers like this, and I say if I'm installing even a Chinese software, at least I understand like the
because there's no English. Like when you normally install software.
Yes.
There's always the Chinese, and then you can convert it to English.
Yeah.
So even the manuals were in Chinese.
Everything, and that's a challenge, right? And
did you have an alternative to English with the manuals and also with the
yes
user guides?
Yes.
Or there's an alternative?
Yes.
Okay.
But when you buy some software, sometimes if you want to buy the cheap software in China, like that,
all comes
there's a
in
trade-off. It's Chinese.
Chinese, yeah.
So sometimes you can get like a very good piece of software, like like some of this Photoshop and like some of these like architectural softwares that are very hard to get or expensive in some cases, you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you buy them for so cheap, you know, it's just like in the very basic local language in China.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, cool, man. So I'm just curious, so you're just from Kenya, you move into a new sort of experience.
Yes.
How do you, and how long did it take you to change or to adjust, to change the mindset? Is it something that just came out of a bad experience, or it's just came like that?
Well, I would say that it takes people generally a long time.
Okay.
I know that for a fact because people struggle with different things, you know. Sometimes it's integration, especially. It takes people a lot of time. But I remember like when I went there, and I went with there was some Kenyans that we got in the same year.
Yeah.
But I was in a unique position because I knew that I was going there and I had to support myself, for example.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm the one that wanted to go study in China and the one that picked this university, you know.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think walking every day, you know, like, and not having the luxury to just relax,
Yeah.
you know, I think it puts you into the culture very fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I was very quickly made in China. You know?
Nice one.
after a while, I was just like, "Yo, guys, I'm made in China, man! Like, look at me." And but that process was not. Even I think your psychology does not automatically, like, I think when you dream, when you sleep, you forget you're in China. You're still in Kenya. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
even your dreams are still in
exactly
Kenya.
That's very interesting. Yeah, because I remember, like, you know, I remember that point where I stopped dreaming in Kiswahili.
The Kenyan and Kiswahili.
You know,
is that dreaming in
even thinking
in Mandarin?
You know, I started dreaming like in English. First of all, English.
Oh, you're transitioning slowly.
Yeah, slowly. Until sometimes comes
from your mother tongue to the second language.
Yeah.
And then on to the third language.
To Chinese, bro. And yeah,
that's interesting. That's how the brain works, right?
It's very interesting when you realize that.
Like that.
Because also when you're just sitting by yourself, for example, and you're just like thinking about stuff, you know, you realize that you're thinking in Swahili sometimes, you know, and you're thinking in like, you know, rarely we think in English, even here in Kenya, like, you know, now maybe more people are kids these days in Kenya, maybe some of them are thinking in English, right? Like where we grow up, like, in, you know, our
I'm
neighborhood.
probably interviewing in Kiswahili first before I convert it to English.
Yeah, you do that, right?
I'm just saying probably.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I'm actually contextualizing everything in Kiswahili then.
And Chinese people used to do that thing as well, you know, because every time I was talking to Chinese people, and for a while,
there was that awkward pause
I
first.
realized, like this guy is translating. This guy is thinking in Chinese, and then he's translating, and then he's giving it to me. And then in the beginning as well, I was thinking in Swahili.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking in Swahili and everything. And you know, when you translate, when you're learning Chinese in English, because when you learn Chinese, the teacher is speaking to you in English, right? And Chinese. So you realize that you're doing double translation. Because for you, you're like, how do I say like, nataka maji? Like, I want water. Yeah. First you take it to English, I want water.
And then from English,
Chinese,
China.
You know, it becomes that, you know.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I was just straight up, I was thinking, I want water. I was not thinking nataka maji. You know, so that maybe took about like 6 months to 1 year.
Yeah. Quite a long time though.
Yeah, a long time, bro. It really does take a long time, you know, for you to really like settle in. And then after 1 year, you know, then sometimes you really, when you really get in the culture, you know, you're just talking to your friends in Chinese, you're doing business, or you're talking to some friends, you know, having a nice time, then you realize that like, you can just go in Chinese. You can just go in Chinese. You can just go in Chinese. And that's a really cool experience. You know, it makes you feel like you're welcome. I think that's how you feel like you're welcome in the culture, you know? Yeah. Yeah, like you're really part of it, like, you know? When we're also here in Kenya, we can make foreigners come here and feel that way. Yes. Like, well, they're just chilling, man. And they're just like, you know, speaking Swahili. And that's how it's supposed to be, I feel. Yeah. Yeah.
What about, what was your experience with the education system? So like the classes, computer science classes, how are they? Do you feel like first of all, was it in Chinese? And do you think that it had industrial content, or they were kind of so theoretical that you had to look for practical elsewhere?
That's cool, man. You just hit the nail in the point, and I hope my professors in China, because I'm still looking forward to come back to Nanjing, you know. And I love my school. Nanjing University is actually one of the top universities in China.
For technology or just everything?
For technology, because it's just like MIT, right? Like if you say MIT, MIT is great, right? MIT, they have tech, but they also have these like law. You can go there and study law, you know. And so one of the cool I would say like things about China is that what do you think about the lights? One of the cool things about China is that so the universities they offer courses in English and in Chinese, and for English of course, less programs are offered in English, right? So they have like these very few programs that China generally offers in English, you know, like international business. You have like software engineering is one of them, mechanical engineering. And Chinese people are also very good at like aviation. And so, you know, they do that. So my course was in English. And generally, courses in English are a little bit more expensive, but it's better than studying in Chinese, because if you study in Chinese, man, like it's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging, you know. But like you ask, like the content of the program. So in my experience in Nanjing University, for example, like we were the new students in this program, you know. They just opened like this international program. Like I was saying, like. So Beijing University is the best university in China.
Yeah.
And then Nanjing University is just like, you know, top 5. But it's really like Chinese people consider it like one of the top universities and very hard to get into. You know? But like so our professors, of course, were all Chinese, and they pick professors that speak the best English. And these guys are very knowledgeable. The professors are very, very good.
Yeah.
Like they're very skillful, like, you know, they know their stuff. But there's always a challenge, which is sometimes because they're teaching a class of foreigners. Yeah. And this class has got people from Indonesia, got people from Gambia. Yo, Gambia.
Multicultural,
you know? Yeah, it's a full multicultural class, you know. And so the teacher struggles a little bit trying to speak in English and to teach all this technical stuff, right? So you find yourself like it becomes a lot of theory and less practical, because to teach practicality now becomes really hard. And software engineering, really, I think, is a very hands-on project. It's a very hands-on program. Yeah. And so for me, what I did is like I was very excited about the program, and I used the teacher as someone I could go and ask questions. For example, like, you know, I could show him a code and be like, help me, and you know, he would guide me. Yeah. Teachers are good for that, very good for that. But I felt like to seek practical experience, I really had to, like, you know, find some work, some projects, and try to really like get a taste of like what it feels to develop a software, and you know. But China really just gave me a platform to test and to really, you know, rather than just, you know, some people just know software engineering as a, you know, from like a theoretical point of view, you know. Yeah. So China really gave me like the opportunity, like if you want to try, if you want to excel, if you want to really like scale up, you know, like you can do it, you know, you can do it. So it was like a big playground. So, you know, I had my fun.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe to compare, so once you were done with school, you transitioned to the industry. How much of a deficit did you feel, or a gap you needed to fill to catch up with the industry, just from campus?
Or when I came out of campus?
When you came out of campus, yes.
So my story is a little bit. So my plan was this. So when I was things moved really fast for me, Things moved really fast because I got a fast job. I got into university in September of 2008. Yeah. And the following year, I was very lucky, man. I got a job at this international school in Nanjing, Nanjing, British School of Nanjing.
Yeah.
Shout out to British School of Nanjing.
Yeah. Shout
And
out.
So, yeah, shout out, yo. It's a really cool environment.
Yeah.
And so they had a Chinese IT guy that was managing the IT, the computers. There was about 50 computers in the school, in every class. And this is a school where the students that go there are international students, not Chinese students. And so, but they had a Chinese IT guy. Okay. So when that guy quit, I had a friend that was working there, and they told me like, "Yo, Kelvin, come and let me introduce you to my boss. He's gonna give you a job." And so I went. It was a Dragon Boat festival. I met the boss, and we had a good time. We had a good laugh, and the boss told me like, "Yo, Kelvin, I think you should come and work at my school." And I told him like, "Yo, man, I'm only 19 years old. I'm only 19 years old. I don't know much about managing this whole infrastructure."
Yeah.
But he told me, he really encouraged me. He told me like, "Hey, man, like Google is your friend.
Yeah.
Just come in, and you will learn in the job." And so I managed to make an agreement with my university where I would, because I told them like I needed this job to be able to pay for my own tuition. So I used to work part-time. My employer allowed me to work part-time, and then I go to school. So your question, you're asking like how much was it of
the gap?
Yeah, the gap.
Yeah.
So that job gave me a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Just with IT, because I was now really like my title was IT manager, administrator.
Okay.
And I was managing everything like the emails, the servers. I was managing.
This is IT support, right?
Yeah, it was just IT support. Yeah, and also, so like I said, things escalated very quickly for me because some of the teachers in the school and the parents of the kids, they needed IT services.
Ah, okay. So you extended.
So they would come to my office and be like, "Hey, Kelvin, the IT guy of British School of Nanjing, can you come to my home and help me?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I'd be happy to." And that's how that was extra money coming in.
Yeah.
And then from there, very quickly, people will be like, "Hey, and my office, I have my office here, can you do this?" And so I was like, okay. So I literally got pulled into business. And this is how, by second year of university, I was already like, I had my freelance thing. I called it Vinsky because my friends used to call me Vinsky. My friends from Dagoretti High School, shout out. And so I got into that. And when I started doing the office stuff, it became websites. Yeah. I started designing websites, WordPress. That's how I started. And then when I got into that world, man, like, and this was I was very happy doing this because I was providing, especially web design, I was providing a bilingual page, Wow, so most of these guys were making Chinese websites, and I told them like, "Hey, I can make English-Chinese websites."
It's called internationalization, no?
Internationalization, yeah.
Yes, yeah. But that's crazy. That's good stuff, man.
It was so much fun as well, man, because a lot of the Chinese people, they, to make a website in English, like, it's too much work. They realize, to them, it's like too much burden.
A lot of work, okay.
It's too much burden, Like, I was going to do all the translation, and some people, I realize, they're not confident in putting their English out there,
Yeah.
So I was like, man, let me come in, let me do this work, and so we just created simple pages, but there was a lot of money in that. Okay. And very quickly, I moved to Hong Kong, okay. And this was even before I graduated. So in my third year, I moved to Hong Kong. The idea was I go to Hong Kong, do business, take a gap year, and then come back to Nanjing, and then finish my program, and. But in Hong Kong is a whole other world, man. Yeah. Hong Kong is like the business world now.
Oh, okay.
Of like, like business gets real in Hong Kong, Even if you're doing business in Shanghai or whatever, like come to Hong Kong and everyone, it's like a business-friendly environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe based on what you've just shared, I think there's one thing that is I think very important to address, and that is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome? Yes. Mm-hmm. How you dealt with imposter syndrome.
What is that? Can you
imposter syndrome is when you find yourself in a situation where you have the skill to deliver something, yes, but you still doubt yourself. You still have that fear that you have to deal with. So you're always second guessing yourself. Wow, am I really good enough? Or this is just a big lie? That I'm being an imposter.
You're acting.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know how you dealt with that in this way. One, it's because you're dealing with multiculture, and two, because you're just from school, and now you have to deal with the business world.
Yeah.
So I would love to know how
Yeah.
you dealt with that.
That's very interesting,
dynamic.
man. And it just brings a point. It brings up a point. Like in China,
Yeah.
you know, when you speak Chinese,
Yes.
people will just give you work. Sometimes people will just give you work.
Yeah.
You know. So you know, you hang out with Chinese people, you're laughing, and they ask you, "What do you do?" And you tell them, "I make websites," and they say, "Oh, you should make a website for my business." And you tell them like, "Hey, you can at least look at my work. Maybe my work is not something of your liking." And they're like, "No, I like you." You know. So I guess I was riding that wave.
Okay.
You know, I was riding that wave where like I think people when they see that you've put effort,
Yeah.
they think that you're going to be there for a long time. You know, they think that you know this guy's going to be around. This guy. So I think, but that imposter syndrome, maybe I dealt with that with Wazungus,
Okay.
with the foreigners, with the Wazungus, because then you have to, you know, they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" And you're like, "I'm from Kenya," you know, and maybe they're from like California, you know,
Or Europe.
or London somewhere, you know, and so with them it was a little bit hard because you really had to put your game up and really like, you know, really you know, define clearly what you can offer, you know, the services, the value that you can bring to them, and you know, and for them, I you know, I always tell them like, you know, I speak Mandarin, so if you're an international business and or like, because most of these guys, like you have someone coming from France and they live in Nanjing and they're doing business in Nanjing, you know, so for them, I want to really like give them that personalized service, you know, maybe you can have French really like on your online strategy, you know, you can have Chinese and you can have English, and you know, but I just tried, I always strive to be professional in that sense.
Okay.
You know, and coming out of school as well. But you know, when you see Chinese people at a very young age, man, they're already doing so much and they have so much confidence. You were talking about confidence earlier.
Yeah.
And they have this so much confidence, you know, and so I feel like I copied a lot of that. I emulated a lot
So the
of that.
environment kind
The
of enabled.
environment, yeah.
Okay.
You see them move so fast, you know, and they're very confident, and so you're like, okay, I gotta be confident too, you know. So it was a lot, some of that, and I remember also teaching English. Yeah, when I was teaching English in the beginning, it was hard because I would get in the class and I've got my lesson planned. You know, I'm gonna teach some grammar. I'm gonna teach, you know, some similes and some proverbs, you know, and then you get in there, and you realize that the Chinese teaching class, like, they just want a very active and dynamic classroom, you know? And so that helped me because I had to deliver, because I had to really adapt. And so I would walk into class for the next hour. I'm just a clown and I'm entertaining kids and you know? So the dancing came in handy. I was break dancing and all the kids go crazy. And so I would say like, especially I would give credit to teaching.
Yeah.
For helping me like break that shyness and that which I brought from Africa, really, like, you know, when you come from Africa and then you go to these places, and I remember I was just walking in China every single day and see all these tall buildings and lights, and it just never dawns on you that you're traveling, you know, that you're like you've moved to a different place, and